The end for Alex Mercer was disappointingly mundane. There was no heroic sacrifice or dramatic final stand. There was only a tired truck driver, a patch of black ice, and a sudden, crushing finality. One moment, he was a mid-level data analyst debating the merits of getting pizza for dinner. The next, he was an abstract concept of awareness, adrift in a silent, featureless void. The transition was less painful and more inconvenient. He'd left a spreadsheet unsaved. His disembodied consciousness floated in the nothingness, a state that should have been terrifying, but was instead profoundly boring. Then light, 2 points of it growing in the distance. One was a brilliant warm gold, radiating a sense of absolute order, serenity, and purpose. It hummed a perfect, harmonious chord. The other was a deep, captivating violet, pulsing with a chaotic energy that spoke of ambition, freedom, and the beautiful, brutal truth of entropy. It thrummed with a seductive, discordant melody. Souls, like motes of dust, were being drawn towards one light or the other, sorted into 2 impossibly long queues for some kind of cosmic reassignment. Alex felt a gentle but inexorable pull towards the golden light. It was pleasant, calming. This was clearly the correct, officially sanctioned option. He was being sorted into the good pile, a fact that would have amused his cynical, earthly self. The queue moved slowly, a silent procession of acceptance. But as he neared the golden gate, the void trembled. A war was being waged on a scale he couldn't comprehend, far beyond his perception. A stray blast of energy, a ripple of divine conflict tore through the space between the queues. It wasn't aimed at him or at anyone. It was simply an aftershock, a cosmic backdraft. The wave of force slammed into Alex's soul. It didn't destroy him. It punted him. He was knocked sideways out of the golden queue, tumbling end over end through the void. He flew past the violet light, close enough to feel its chaotic, ambition-fueled pull, a jolt of raw power that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. He was an anomaly, a piece of paperwork blown out of the filing cabinet, now claimed by neither and touched by both. Before his soul could be recaptured by either cosmic bureaucracy, he fell, tumbling down into the soft, welcoming darkness of a new beginning. He awoke with a gasp, his lungs filling with the rich, loamy scent of damp earth and strange, sweet flowers. His body felt alien, a fresh vessel of unworked muscle and bone. He sat up, finding himself in a secluded, moss-covered glade. Towering, unfamiliar trees formed a dense canopy overhead, filtering the light of twin suns, one gold, one violet, that hung in the sky. He was alive, reincarnated, and then the true weirdness began. A translucent screen of golden light flickered into existence before his eyes, filled with elegant, glowing script. Welcome, blessed soul. The divine system has claimed you. Serve the light, uphold order, cherish life. Class assigned, Acolyte. Before he could even process this, another screen, this one a chaotic violet, superimposed itself over the first, its jagged, aggressive text fighting for dominance. Welcome, ambitious soul. The abyssal system has claimed you. Embrace the chaos, seize power, master death. Class assigned, initiate. The 2 interfaces glitched, warring for a moment before settling into a deeply unsettling, overlapping state. He could see them both, a golden menu of virtues and a violet menu of vices, existing in the same space. His mind, accustomed to neat, orderly data, reeled. This was a critical system error. This was a bug in the code of reality. He tried to mentally close one of the windows, but found he couldn't. They were both a part of him now. 2 competing operating systems running on the same, unprepared hardware. His head throbbed as 2 sets of stats populated his vision, one layered atop the other. The divine interface showed him attributes like faith and order. The abyssal one showed him chaos and ambition. They were both at baseline, a blank slate for 2 opposing artists. A sound, a pained groan, drew his attention. A few yards away, an old man in simple pilgrim's robes lay against a tree, his leg bent at an unnatural angle, a deep bleeding gash on his thigh. He was weak, vulnerable. Instantly, 2 conflicting notifications chimed in his mind. Their text and tones a jarring juxtaposition of harmony and discord. Divine quest, a shepherd's duty. Description, a faithful pilgrim has been wounded by the wilds. Offer him aid and comfort. Objective, heal the pilgrim's wounds. Reward, +150 divine favor, 100 experience points, divine. Abyssal quest, the first tithe. Description: a weak life form is expiring nearby. Its essence is a resource, take it. Objective: drain the life essence from the pilgrim. Reward +50 Abyssal Favor, 100 experience points, Abyssal. Alex, no, he needed a new name for this new, absurd life, stared at the pilgrim, then at his two conflicting quest logs. He was being asked to simultaneously save a man and consume his soul. This wasn't just a system error. It was a cosmic joke, and he was the punchline. He decided on a new name, one that felt fittingly paradoxical. Cain. His first act in this new world would be to choose between the light and the abyss, a choice that would undoubtedly earn him the eternal enmity of the other side. Or, he thought, a flicker of his old pragmatic data analyst self sparking to life. Maybe he could find a third option. Maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to resolve both quests. Cain stared at the wounded pilgrim, his mind racing. The two quests were a logical paradox, a binary choice designed by absolutist gods. Helping the man would earn him abyssal infamy, draining him would earn him divine infamy. Either path would immediately paint a target on his back for one of two cosmic superpowers. As a freshly reincarnated soul with 0 skills and the constitution of an under-exercised office worker, that was a non-starter. He needed a workaround. He needed to exploit the system. He approached the old man, who looked up with pleading, pain-filled eyes. "Please, traveler, my leg, a dire wolf." Cain knelt, examining the wound. It was deep, but not immediately fatal. The pilgrim was weak, his life force, his essence, leaking away. The divine quest required him to heal. The abyssal quest required him to drain. The wording was specific. The abyssal system didn't demand murder. It demanded a tithe of life essence. The divine system didn't demand a perfect instantaneous restoration. It demanded aid. There was a gray area there, a loophole wide enough to pilot a metaphysical truck through. He focused his intent on the golden interface, accessing the skills of his Acolyte class. There was only one. Skill, mend, minor, active. Channels a small amount of holy energy to close minor wounds and reduce pain. Mana cost, 10, divine. He then focused on the violet interface, accessing the skills of his initiate class. Again, only one. Skill, siphon life, minor. Active. Drains a small amount of life essence from a living target, converting it into abyssal mana. Mana cost, 5, abyssal. The plan was audacious and potentially disastrous. He placed one hand on the pilgrim's shoulder, a gesture of comfort. His other hand, he gently laid upon the wound itself. "Hold still," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "I have some minor healing ability." The pilgrim nodded gratefully. Cain closed his eyes, concentrating. He activated Mend, Minor, feeling a warm, golden energy flow from his divine mana pool down his arm and into the pilgrim's leg. The light soothed the wound, the torn flesh slowly beginning to knit together. He was fulfilling the divine quest, but simultaneously, through the hand on the wound, he activated Siphon Life, Minor. A cold, violet tendril of energy, almost invisible against the brilliant gold of the healing spell, latched onto the pilgrim's leaking life force. It wasn't an aggressive drain, it was more like efficient recycling. He was siphoning the essence that was already escaping, the spiritual bleeding caused by the injury. He wasn't taking from the man's core vitality, just the overflow. It felt profoundly heretical, like pouring holy water and demon's blood into the same cup. The pilgrim gasped, his body shivering, but he likely attributed it to the pain and the strange sensation of magical healing. The golden light faded, leaving behind a partially closed, but no longer life-threatening wound. The abyssal siphon receded, leaving Cain's unholy mana pool feeling pleasantly full. He had done it. 2 chimes, one harmonious, one discordant, echoed in his mind. Divine quest, a shepherd's duty, complete. You have gained +150 divine favor. You have gained 100 experience points, Divine. You have leveled up, Acolyte. Is now level 1. You have gained +1 faith. Abyssal Quest, the first tithe, complete. You have gained +50 Abyssal Favor. You have gained 100 experience points, Abyssal. You have leveled up. Initiate is now level 1. You have gained +1 ambition. He had successfully served 2 masters. But his success was immediately followed by 2 terrifying notifications. Warning, your act of healing has been noted by the Abyss. You have gained +$150 Abyssal Infamy. Warning, your act of draining life has been noted by the heavens. You have gained +150 Divine Infamy. Cain's heart sank. So he couldn't escape it. He was now a minor enemy of both sides. But then 2 more notifications blinked, one after the other, causing the infamy alerts to flicker and vanish. Your Abyssal Favor has canceled out your Abyssal Infamy. Your status with the Abyss remains neutral. Your Divine Favor has canceled out your Divine Infamy. Your status with the heavens remains neutral. Cain almost laughed out loud. The systems were so rigid, so binary, that their own accounting had created a perfect loophole. An act of kindness and an act of cruelty, performed simultaneously, had resulted in a net change of 0. He was a paradox, a walking rounding error in the cosmic spreadsheet. He was invisible for now. The pilgrim, groaning, pushed himself up. Thank you, stranger. You have saved my life. The light bless you. I am headed to the town of Penance. It is not far. You would be welcome there. Penance. The name seemed fitting. Cain helped the old man to his feet, offering him a sturdy branch as a crutch. The town was his best bet for supplies and information. As he walked, he examined his 2 new character sheets, now slightly more populated. Divine sheet name, Cain class, Acolyte, level 1. Divine Favor, 50 stats. Faith, 2. Order, 1. Skills, Mend, minor. Holy Bolt, minor. New, Abyssal sheet. Name, Cain class. Initiate, level 1. Abyssal Favor, 50 stats. Ambition, 2. Chaos, 1. Skills. Siphon Life, minor. Shadow Spike, minor. New. He had a basic healing spell and a holy projectile. He also had a life drain and a shadowy projectile. He was a contradiction, a heretic walking a tightrope between 2 warring gods. And for the first time since his inconvenient death, he felt a spark of genuine, thrilling excitement. This was a far more interesting data set than he had ever worked with before. The town of Penance was a study in contrasts, a perfect microcosm of the world Cain now inhabited. It was a rugged border settlement, carved out of the gray stone of the mountains. On the eastern side, the buildings were clean, adorned with the golden sunburst of the divine kingdom of Ethel. A pristine white church stood at its heart, its bell tower reaching towards the heavens. On the western side, the architecture grew more chaotic, the alleys twisting, the buildings marked with subtle violet runes of the abyssal wastes. A shadowy tavern, known only as the Last Tithe, seemed to absorb the light around it. The 2 sides were locked in a cold war of disapproving glares and competing ideologies. It was the perfect place for a man with 2 faces to disappear. After parting ways with the grateful pilgrim, who had given him a few copper coins for his trouble, Cain began to explore. He needed to get stronger, to understand his paradoxical nature. The best way to do that in any system was to grind. He found the town's bounty board, a scarred wooden plaque standing in the exact center of Penance, a neutral ground of sorts. Unsurprisingly, there were 2 distinct sets of notices. One, nailed to the board with a gleaming silver tack, was from the Church of the Eternal Light. It offered a modest reward for the cleansing of the nearby sepulchre of the Forgotten Saint, which had recently become infested with minor undead, a classic divine quest. The other notice, pinned with a jagged shard of obsidian, was written in a cramped, secretive hand. It was a request from an unnamed patron for the retrieval of a specific item from the same sepulchre, a small, unholy relic known as the Weeping Dagger. A textbook abyssal quest. Cain felt that familiar spark of opportunity. 2 quests, 1 location. It was efficient. He accepted both, his dual interfaces silently updating with the new objectives. He spent the last of his coppers on a loaf of hard bread, a water skin, and a simple, sturdy iron dagger. It wasn't a holy symbol or a sacrificial blade. It was just a tool. A neutral tool for a neutral man. The sepulchre of the forgotten saint was a crumbling stone edifice on a windswept hill overlooking penance. The air here was cold, heavy with the scent of decay and stagnant prayer. As he descended into the darkness, Cain focused on his skills. He had 2 mana pools, one golden, divine, and one violet, abyssal, and he could feel them both, 2 distinct reservoirs of power within him. Using a skill from one pool did not deplete the other, but switching between them felt mentally taxing, like trying to speak 2 languages at once. The first undead he encountered was a shambling corpse, level 2, a pathetic creature of mindless hunger. He tested his divine skill first. He focused, channeling his holy mana. Holy Bolt Minor! A small, searing projectile of golden light shot from his hand, striking the zombie in the chest. It hissed, its rotten flesh smoking where the bolt hit, but it continued to shamble forward. The attack was effective, but not overwhelmingly so. Next, a brittle skeleton, level 2, emerged from the shadows, its bones clattering. This time he used his abyssal skill. Shadow Spike Minor. A spike of solidified darkness erupted from the ground beneath the skeleton, impaling it. The creature shattered into a pile of bones. This attack was far more effective against the non-fleshy target. Interesting. Different tools for different jobs. He proceeded cautiously, using Holy Bolt on zombies and Shadow Spike on skeletons, efficiently clearing the upper levels of the crypt. He was gaining small amounts of experience in both classes, his dual progress bars slowly ticking upwards. But it felt inefficient. He was just a low-level spellcaster with 2 different elemental attacks. There was no synergy, no grand strategy. His opportunity to innovate came in the deeper chambers, where the undead were stronger. He found himself cornered by a skeletal warden, level 5, a much larger skeleton clad in rusted armor and wielding a massive chipped axe. Its eye sockets glowed with a malevolent blue light. His shadow spike barely scratched its armored legs, and his holy bolt sizzled against its enchanted bones but failed to stop its relentless advance. The warden swung its axe, a whistling arc of death that forced Cain to dive behind a crumbling stone sarcophagus. He was trapped. His spells were too weak individually. The warden was too strong for a direct confrontation. He needed something new, something that neither an acolyte nor an initiate could do alone. He thought about the pilgrim, about the strange, harmonized sensation of using 2 opposing forces at once. He looked at his 2 mana pools, the calm gold and the chaotic violet. What if he didn't switch between them? What if he used them together? The skeletal warden's axe bit deep into the stone sarcophagus, sending chips of ancient granite flying. Cain pressed himself against the cold stone, his heart hammering. His individual spells were a pittance against this foe. He was out of options, which meant it was time to invent one. The idea was madness, a violation of the very principles his 2 systems were built on. Holy energy was meant to purify and destroy the unholy. Abyssal energy was meant to corrupt and consume. They were antithetical, mutually exclusive. Trying to combine them should, by all logic, result in a catastrophic backfire, a magical implosion that would likely scour his soul from existence. But what other choice did he have? He peered over the edge of the sarcophagus. The warden was trying to wrench its axe free, its bony frame straining. This was his only chance. He focused, not on one mana pool, but on both. It felt like trying to pat his head and rub his stomach while composing a symphony. The mental strain was immense. He could feel the golden energy of the light and the violet energy of the abyss recoiling from each other within him, 2 repelling magnets forced together. He decided to lead with the divine. He began to cast Holy Bolt Minor, but instead of releasing it, he held the gathering golden energy in his palm, a miniature, searing sun. The skeletal warden, sensing the holy power, turned its glowing blue eyes towards him, letting out a silent, rattling hiss of hatred. It finally ripped its axe free and began to lumber towards him, now for the heresy. While holding the divine energy, he reached for the abyssal. He cast Shadow Spike Minor, not at the ground, but directing its chaotic, dark essence into the holy bolt he was holding. The 2 energies met. The result was not the clean, silent implosion he had feared. It was a violent, screaming fusion. The golden light of the holy bolt warped, turning a sickening incandescent gold-violet. The ball of energy in his hand grew unstable, sputtering and writhing like a captured star. It was beautiful and utterly terrifying. He had no name for this new spell, this abomination of magic. He just knew he had to get rid of it. With a desperate roar, he thrust his hand forward, launching the unstable projectile at the charging skeletal warden. The bolt of fused energy flew, not straight and true like a holy projectile, but with an erratic, corkscrewing motion. It slammed into the warden's ribcage. The impact was silent for a split second, and then the world erupted in a clash of light and shadow. The holy energy did its work, searing the undead bones and unraveling the necromantic magic that held them together. Simultaneously, the abyssal energy latched onto that process of decay, not just destroying the magic, but consuming it, using the unraveling soul fragments as fuel. A chain reaction occurred. The warden didn't just break. It was annihilated, its form dissolving into a cloud of dust and fading violet gold motes. The residual energy from the consumption flowed back to Cain, instantly refilling both his mana pools to full. Heretical technique discovered. Purging Siphon. Description: a fused spell combining divine and abyssal energies. Deals massive damage to undead and demonic targets, unraveling their essence and returning a portion of the energy to the caster's mana pools. Warning: use of heretical techniques may draw unwanted attention from powerful entities. Cain stared at the empty space where the warden had been, his hand trembling, his mind reeling. He had done it. He had created a spell that was greater than the sum of its parts. It was powerful, efficient, and a complete violation of cosmic law. He grinned, a wide, slightly manic grin. This changed everything. He proceeded through the rest of the crypt with a newfound confidence. He used his Purging Siphon on the remaining undead, each cast a thrilling, dangerous experiment. He found he could alter the ratio, a more divine-heavy mix for a wider purifying blast, a more abyssal mix for a stronger siphoning effect. He was no longer just a user of two systems. He was becoming their editor. In the final chamber, he found what he was looking for. A small, ornate chest sat upon a stone altar. Inside was the weeping dagger, a shard of obsidian that seemed to weep a viscous, shadowy substance. This was the unholy relic. He took it, carefully wrapping it in cloth, fulfilling his abyssal quest. The cleansing of the crypt's undead fulfilled his divine one. He returned to penance as the twin suns were setting, bathing the town in a surreal twilight of gold and violet. He first visited the Church of the Eternal Light, presenting the head priest with a holy symbol he'd found on the forgotten saint's sarcophagus as proof of his deed. The priest, a stern man with kind eyes, rewarded him with coin and a nod of approval. Divine quest, cleanse the sepulchre, complete. You have gained 100 divine favor. You have gained 500 experience points, divine. You have leveled up. Acolyte is now level 2. Next, he slipped into the shadowy confines of the last tithe. He found his contact in a secluded booth, a cloaked figure whose face was hidden in shadow. He presented the weeping dagger. The figure took it with a gaunt, pale hand, dropping a heavy purse of coins on the table without a word. Abyssal quest, retrieve the relic, complete. You have gained 100 abyssal favor. You have gained 500 experience points abyssal. You have leveled up. Initiate is now level 2. Cain left the tavern, his pockets heavy with coin, his mind buzzing with the potential of his heretical new powers. He looked at his 2 character sheets, now both at level 2, his favor with both cosmic powers growing. He was successfully playing both sides, walking a razor's edge between salvation and damnation. He was a heretic, an anomaly, a bug in the divine code. And in a world locked in a holy war, being a neutral, powerful, and utterly unpredictable error might just be the ultimate advantage. Cain's success in the Sepulchre of the Forgotten Saint had elevated his standing with both the divine and abyssal factions in penance. His 2 mana pools now felt more connected, almost like 2 currents within a single river, making the mental leap between them slightly less jarring. His discovery of Purging Siphon had given him a powerful, if dangerous, tool. He had spent his newfound coins wisely, purchasing better yet still neutral, traveling clothes, a more robust backpack, and enough dried rations to venture further afield. Most importantly, he'd acquired a basic map of the region. The map depicted 2 large, warring kingdoms. the radiant kingdom of Ethel, aligned with the divine system to the east, and the shadowy dominion of Umbra, loyal to the abyssal system to the west. Penance, perched precariously on their shared border, was a constant flashpoint. His dual character sheets, now level 2 in both Acolyte and Initiate, showed new skill options. Divine Sheet, Acolyte Level 2. New skill option, Divine Shield, Minor. Active. Conjures a small shield of holy energy, absorbing minor physical or magical damage. Mana cost, 15 divine. New skill option, Detect Evil, Passive. Passive. Grants a minor awareness of nearby entities with significant Abyssal Affinity, Abyssal Sheet, Initiate LVL2. New skill option, Shadow Step, Minor. Active. Briefly melts into shadows, moving a short distance undetected. Mana cost, 15 Abyssal. New skill option, Whispers of Madness, Passive. Passive. Grants a minor awareness of nearby entities with significant divine affinity. These passive detection skills were particularly intriguing. If they truly worked in opposite ways, he might be able to detect any powerful entity, regardless of alignment, by observing if both skills triggered simultaneously. He spent one of his 2 new skill points on Detect Evil and the other on Whispers of Madness. He needed information, not just raw power. His neutrality, maintained by balancing his favor with both sides, remained his most valuable asset. The Divine Favor and Abyssal Favor he'd gained from the crypt quests had canceled out the infamy from his calculated kindness with the pilgrim, keeping him beneath the radar of cosmic enforcement. But he knew this precarious balance couldn't last forever. Major actions, truly heroic or villainous deeds, would eventually force a choice, or expose his secret. He decided to seek out higher-level quests, but cautiously. His next target was a dangerous bandit camp nestled in the foothills between Ethel and Umbra territory, a neutral threat, which meant its defeat would likely grant favor from both sides. As he trekked through the rugged terrain, his newly acquired passive skills hummed faintly. Detect Evil would occasionally prickle, signaling a lurking shadow beast or a rogue abyssal cultist. Whispers of Madness would subtly hum when he passed a hidden divine shrine or an overzealous paladin patrol. He was making good progress when both passive skills flared, simultaneously and violently. Detect Evil was a sharp, cold jab. Whispers of Madness was a searing, painful buzz. Something incredibly powerful, something that radiated both extreme good and extreme evil, was nearby. It was radiating. He quickly ducked behind a thick copse of ancient, gnarled trees, peering through the leaves. In a small, rocky clearing ahead, 2 figures were locked in a silent, deadly standoff. One was an archangel of vengeance, level, a being of blinding golden light, its feathered wings spanning 20 feet, its face hidden by a helm of pure radiance. It wielded a sword of solidified sunlight. Its presence was so overwhelmingly holy that it hurt Cain's eyes to look at it directly. The other was a demon lord of discord. Level? It's a hulking, grotesque entity of shadow and jagged bone, radiating pure, oppressive hatred. Its form shimmered with dark fire, and it wielded a colossal, 2-headed axe that seemed to absorb all light. Its presence was so overwhelmingly abyssal that it made Cain's skin crawl. They were both easily beyond level 50, possibly even level 100. They were cosmic generals, avatars of their respective systems, and they were staring each other down, their power vibrating through the very earth. Warning. Overwhelming divine presence detected. Warning. Overwhelming abyssal presence detected. Threat level catastrophic. Cain instinctively activated both Divine Shield, Minor, and Shadow Step, Minor, cloaking himself in a dual-layered, desperate defense, hoping to become utterly invisible. He wasn't even a bystander. He was less than an ant in the presence of these titans. He simply needed to survive their proximity. He heard the archangel speak, its voice a chorus of harmonious thunder. Demon, your incursions into Ethel territory cease now. Return to your wretched dominion. The demon lord's voice was a grating, guttural rumble that vibrated his teeth. Incursions? This land is claimed by ambition, Angel. Your stagnant order will not hold. They clashed. The sound of their battle was a physical blow, a sonic boom of colliding divine and abyssal energies that ripped the landscape apart. Swords of light met axes of shadow. Holy fire met dark lightning. The very ground buckled, trees vaporized, and the sky above them was torn open by the raw force of their attacks, revealing a swirling maelstrom of golden and violet clouds. Cain, hiding, felt both his mana pools violently fluctuate, drained and refilled in chaotic bursts by the ambient magical energy. His body tingled with pain and exhilaration. He was being battered by the sheer power of their conflict, yet somehow his unique dual nature allowed him to siphon off the overflow. He was soaking up passive experience from simply being near this cosmic brawl. You have gained 50 experience points, Divine. You have gained 50 experience points, Abyssal. Acolyte, LVL 2, 75 100 XP. Initiate, LVL 2, 75 100 XP. This was insane. He was leveling up by doing absolutely nothing. He needed to get out, but he couldn't move. He was mesmerized, terrified, and calculating. If he could find a way to consistently be near such high-level conflicts, he could become immensely powerful without ever directly engaging. He was no hero. He was just a very lucky, very scared scavenger of cosmic power. The battle between the Archangel and the Demon Lord raged for what felt like an eternity. Cain clung to the earth, feeling the tremors, the searing heat, the chilling cold, and the overwhelming pressure of two cosmic powers tearing reality apart. He was a piece of debris in a divine hurricane, yet his dual system interfaces continued to hum, constantly processing the overflowing ambient mana. You have gained 50 experience points, Divine. You have gained 50 experience points, Abyssal. Acolyte LVL 2, 125 100 XP, level up. Initiate LVL 2, 125 100 XP, level up. His levels soared. He was now level 3 in both classes. He was literally leveling up by doing nothing more than witnessing a fight. This was an unprecedented exploit. Finally, with a final earth-shattering explosion that left a colossal crater in the landscape, the two titans separated, their forms flickering, weakened. They had likely fought to a standstill, neither able to truly defeat the other without catastrophic self-destruction. The Archangel, its wings slightly singed, ascended back into the golden twilight. The Demon Lord, its shadowy form momentarily diminished, melted back into the twisted gloom of the western lands. Silence descended, broken only by the crackle of residual magic and the occasional drip of cooling slag. Cain slowly, cautiously emerged from his hiding place, feeling strangely invigorated despite the danger. His mana pools once again were completely full. You have leveled up. Acolyte is now level 3. You have gained +1 faith. New skill point acquired. New class skill option, Holy Light Basic, active. Emits a burst of holy light, briefly stunning weak unholy targets or illuminating dark areas. Mana cost, 20, Divine. New class skill option, Divine Blessing, minor. Active, grants a minor boost to an ally's primary stats for a short duration. Mana cost, 25, Divine. You have leveled up. Initiate is now level 3. You have gained +1 ambition. New skill point acquired. New class skill option, Fear Gaze, minor. Active, instills a brief moment of fear in weak holy targets or demoralizes enemies. Mana cost, 20, Abyssal. New class skill option, Soul Harvest, minor. Active, drains a moderate amount of life essence from a living target, converting it into abyssal mana with a chance to apply a weakened debuff. Mana cost, 30, Abyssal. 2 new skill points. He spent 1 on Soul Harvest minor. The thought of converting enemy essence into his own power was too appealing to pass up, especially with his still-hidden Purging Siphon for undead. For his other skill point, he chose Divine Blessing, minor. He wasn't a hero, but if he was going to pretend to be one for a few quests, having a buff for allies would be useful. He surveyed the devastation. The ground was scorched, blasted, and ripped apart, but amidst the chaos, fragments of power remained. He noticed glittering motes of divine and abyssal energy clinging to the shattered landscape. They were weak, residual, but still potent. He knelt, instinctively reaching out. Divine Essence Fragment collected. 45 Divine Mana. Abyssal Essence Fragment collected. 45 Abyssal Mana. He could actively scavenge power from the aftermath of high-level conflicts. This was even better. He spent the next hour meticulously searching the crater, carefully avoiding any lingering pockets of unstable energy. He collected enough fragments to fully replenish both his mana pools multiple times over. He even found a few rare divine dust and abyssal residue components, which his system indicated could be used in high-level crafting. As he finished, he heard distant shouts. A patrol, likely from Ethel, was approaching, drawn by the massive energy signature of the battle. He quickly concealed himself again, not wanting to be found near such a devastating sight, especially not with his dual alignment. He needed to avoid drawing direct attention from either side's higher-ups. He decided his immediate goal was to consolidate his power and avoid direct detection. He would stick to the bandit camp quest. It was low risk, offered a neutral target, and allowed him to practice his combined techniques. He would become a shadow, an unseen player in this cosmic game, gathering strength from the fringes. His pragmatic nature told him that the best way to survive a holy war was to be neither holy nor of the war, but to profit from both. He eventually reached the bandit camp, a ramshackle collection of tents and crude barricades. As he watched from a distance, he saw the bandits, brutish and disorganized, harassing a group of hapless merchants. He knew what he had to do. He would engage the bandits using a calculated mix of divine and abyssal skills, carefully making sure not to lean too heavily on either side. He would be the unseen hand, the quiet force that manipulated the battlefield. He would be the ultimate pragmatist. The heretic of the two systems was learning to walk his tightrope. The bandit camp was a hive of scum and villainy, a perfect opportunity for Cain to test his balanced approach. He watched from a ridge overlooking the camp, using his detect evil and whispers of madness passively, not to find holy or unholy, but to pinpoint the bandit leader. A hulking brute named Cain decided on a surgical strike. He would eliminate the leadership and scatter the rest, all while maintaining his precious neutrality. He approached under the cover of dusk, his shadow step minor skill invaluable for bypassing the crude sentries. He moved like a ghost, a flicker of darkness and light, until he was directly behind Cain's tent. He paused, gathering his thoughts. No direct overt display of pure divine or pure abyssal power. A balanced approach. He entered the tent. Cain, a scarred man with a glint of cruel intelligence in his eyes, was hunched over a crude map, planning his next raid. He looked up surprised, but before he could shout, Cain acted. He unleashed a carefully balanced Purging Siphon, not against an undead, but against a living, wicked target. The spell, a chaotic swirl of gold and violet, slammed into Cain. The bandit leader screamed, not just from pain, but from the existential horror of having his very essence torn at by two opposing forces. His life force was rapidly siphoned away, flowing into Cain's dual mana pools, but the divine energy simultaneously purified and destabilized his physical form. He collapsed, dead, a wisp of smoke rising from his still form. Cain, bandit leader, defeated. You have gained 300 experience points, divine. You have gained 300 experience points, abyssal. Divine favor plus 25, abyssal favor plus 25. Acolyte Level 3, 375 500 XP. Initiate, Level 3, 375 500 XP. A clean, efficient kill. And the system deemed it a neutral act, granting both favor and exp. Excellent. The remaining bandits, leaderless and disorganized, were easy pickings. Cain didn't kill them all. He engaged them with a terrifying display of his unique abilities. He would use Holy Bolt Minor to knock a bandit off his feet, then immediately follow up with a Shadow Spike Minor to disarm another, making it look like two different unseen attackers. He used Mend Minor on a captured merchant to instill trust, then later used Soul Harvest Minor on a fleeing, particularly vile bandit, draining his essence, a brutal, pragmatic act of self-preservation and resource gathering. He was a blur of conflicting energies, a phantom of both light and shadow, leaving confusion and fear in his wake. Some bandits reported seeing an avenging angel, others a dark demon. No one reported seeing a single, unassuming man who could wield both. He liberated the merchants, returning their goods, and in return, they hailed him as a hero. They offered him a small reward, and more importantly, information. There's a trade caravan heading to the capital of Ethel, one merchant explained. They might be able to offer more advanced quests. And the capital has a larger library. Perhaps you could learn more about this system. Capital of Ethel. That meant pure divine territory. Risky. But the lure of advanced quests and information about the systems themselves was too strong to resist. He needed to understand the rules of this game if he was going to master it. He returned to penance, making sure to deposit evidence of his bandit hunting, a few bandit badges, at both the church and the last tithe. Both factions praised his justice and rewarded him handsomely, bringing his divine and abyssal favor up to a comfortable neutral 200, Acolyte LVL, 3, 675 500 XP, level up. Initiate LVL 3, 675 500 XP, level up. He leveled up again. He confirmed both. You have leveled up. Acolyte is now level 4. You have gained +1 faith. New skill point acquired. New class skill option, Holy Ward, basic, active. Places a small stationary ward that repels unholy entities. Mana cost, 30, divine. New class skill option, Empowering Light, minor. Active. Briefly increases an ally's spell power or weapon damage. Mana cost, 35, divine. You have leveled up. Initiate is now level 4. You have gained +1 ambition. New skill point acquired. New class skill option, Abyssal Mark, basic, active. Marks a target, increasing all abyssal damage dealt to them. Mana cost, 30, abyssal. New class skill option, Corrupting Touch, minor. Active. Applies a minor weakened debuff to a target's physical stats. Mana cost, 35, abyssal. 2 more skill points. He chose Empowering Light, minor, for his divine side, a useful buff for any future allies. For his abyssal side, he chose Abyssal Mark, basic, a clear damage enhancer for his shadow spells and Purging Siphon. He now had a diverse array of skills, both offensive and defensive, healing and damaging, supporting and debilitating, for both light and dark. He was becoming truly versatile. He was a chameleon, capable of blending into any situation or tearing it apart with conflicting powers. The capital of Ethel awaited. It would be a true test of his ability to maintain his delicate balance in the heart of the divine. The journey to Ethel's capital, Eridor, was uneventful but tense. Cain traveled with the trade caravan, observing the land. To the east, the fields were fertile, the towns prosperous, and the people openly devout. Temples and shrines to the divine were everywhere, and the air hummed with a palpable sense of order and serenity. His detect evil, passive, remained mostly quiet, save for the occasional twitch when passing a hidden, resentful soul or a low-level shadow creature. His whispers of madness, passive, however, was a constant low thrum, a dull ache of detection. He was surrounded by divine favor, an overwhelming presence that highlighted his own abyssal nature. Eridor itself was magnificent, a city of white marble and gleaming spires, crowned by the colossal cathedral of eternal light which seemed to pierce the golden twin sun. Angels, lesser ones, not the archangel he'd seen, often glided through the air, serene and watchful. Paladins in shining armor patrolled the streets, their divine auras radiating absolute conviction. It was a city designed to be inhospitable to anything of the abyss. Cain moved cautiously, using Shadow Step, minor, to avoid crowded plazas and focusing intently on projecting an air of meek piety. He had to embody the Acolyte class completely here. He donated generously to street beggars, divine favor, attended a public sermon, more divine favor, and even accidentally healed a sick child with mend, minor, a huge surge of divine favor and a warm feeling that, to his annoyance, was genuinely pleasant. He was a master of appearances, his divine favor soared, easily reaching 500, and his divine infamy remained at 0. He was considered a model citizen, a devout follower of the light, but he felt the constant, nagging ache of his whispers of madness, passive, a silent alarm telling him that his abyssal half was screaming in protest, dangerously close to revealing itself. He needed to find a way to balance it. He quickly sought out the Adventurers Guild in Eridor, a grand, cathedral-like building itself. He perused the quest board, looking for something that could subtly feed his abyssal side without drawing suspicion. He found it. Divine Quest, the cleansing of the Shadowfell crypt. Description: A powerful abyssal corruption has taken root in the ancient Shadowfell crypt beneath the city. Brave heroes are needed to cleanse it and recover sacred artifacts. Objective: defeat the Shadowfell Necromancer, cleanse 5 abyssal corruption nodes, recover the Holy Chalice. Reward: Plow 500 Divine Favor, 2,000 experience points Divine. Divine Orb of Purity. Rare item. This was perfect. An abyssal target in the heart of a divine city. He could cleanse it with divine energy, but also siphon it. He accepted the quest. The Shadowfell crypt was a stark contrast to the dazzling city above. It was a labyrinth of crumbling stone, choked with ancient shadows and the oppressive weight of abyssal magic. His detect evil passive screamed as he descended. This place was a festering wound in the heart of the divine. He encountered his first challenge, a Shadow Weeper, level 8, a wraith-like entity that tried to drain his divine mana. Cain immediately activated Abyssal Mark Basic on it, drawing the shadow towards him, then unleashed a focused Purging Siphon. The abyssal energy in the spell consumed the shadow, feeding his dark mana pool, while the divine energy purified its corrupt essence, preventing its rebirth. Shadow Weeper defeated. You have gained 150 experience points, Divine. You have gained 150 experience points, Abyssal. This was the way. He moved through the crypt, methodically cleansing corruption nodes with bursts of Holy Light, Basic, and then immediately activating Soul Harvest, Minor, on the residual abyssal energy, preventing it from reforming. He was fulfilling the divine quest, but also secretly feeding his abyssal side. He was a holy purifier and a silent scavenger of souls. All at once, he located the Shadowfell Necromancer, a gaunt figure cloaked in dark robes, surrounded by an army of animated corpses in level 5 and shadow specters level 7. The Necromancer himself was a warlock adept, level 12. This would be his biggest challenge yet. He needed to appear as a pure servant of the light. To draw out the Necromancer's abyssal power, he started with a grand display, a wide area, Holy Light, Basic, to stun the corpses, followed by Empowering Light, Minor, on himself, making his next attacks appear more potent. The Necromancer scoffed, conjuring a massive abyssal barrage, Basic, of dark energy. Foolish Acolyte. The Necromancer cackled. Your petty light cannot stop the inevitable. But Cain was ready. As the abyssal barrage hurtled towards him, he activated a radical combination. He used his Divine Shield Minor to block the initial impact, absorbing the physical force. But as the abyssal energy washed over the shield, he simultaneously activated Siphon Life Minor, not on the Necromancer, but on the shield itself, leeching the raw abyssal mana that was impacting it. Heretical technique. Discovered, mana reversal barrier. Description: a fused technique combining Divine Shield with Siphon Life. Blocks abyssal energy attacks and converts a portion of the incoming mana into the caster's abyssal mana pool. Warning: may appear as absorbing unholy power. Highly heretical. The abyssal barrage slammed into his shield, and instead of just dissipating, the dark energy visibly flowed into Cain, replenishing his abyssal mana. The Necromancer's eyes widened in horror. What are you? Cain just smiled. He was the Heretic. He was the Paradox. He was the one who could turn darkness into power and use light to expose truth. He was a master of 2 systems, and he was only just beginning to truly understand what that meant. The Necromancer was about to learn a very painful lesson about fighting an opponent who could use his own power against him. The Shadowfell Necromancer, a warlock adept of considerable power, staggered back, aghast. His abyssal barrage, Basic, had been absorbed and inverted, its dark energy feeding Cain's abyssal mana pool. The look on the Necromancer's face was a mixture of fear and utter bewilderment, a reaction Cain found immensely satisfying. What sorcery is this? The Necromancer shrieked, his voice echoing in the gloomy crypt. You are an Acolyte! Your kind cannot wield such corruption! My kind, Cain calmly corrected, already preparing his next move, is more complicated than you understand. He launched into a calculated assault. He used Holy Light, Basic, to disrupt the Necromancer's animated corpses, making them flail blindly, then followed up with Purging Siphon to rapidly dismantle the shadow specters, replenishing both his mana pools with the disintegrating abyssal essence. He was a whirlwind of conflicting energies. A paradox in motion. The necromancer, panicking, tried to summon more undead, but Cain used Divine Blessing Minor on himself, boosting his spell power, then unleashed another, more potent Purging Siphon directly at the warlock. The necromancer cried out as the fused energy tore at his protective wards, his abyssal mark, basic, active to enhance the necrotic damage. The balance was exquisite, holy energy burning away his dark wards, abyssal energy consuming his life force. With a final, desperate gasp, the necromancer collapsed, his body dissolving into shadow and a faint, golden light. Shadowfell Necromancer Warlock Adept defeated. You have gained 500 experience points. Divine. You have gained 500 experience points. Abyssal. Divine Favor 100, Abyssal Favor 100. Acolyte LVL 4, 1075 1000 XP, level up. Initiate LVL 4, 1075 1000 XP, level up. Cain quickly located the Holy Chalice, a gleaming artifact radiating purity, and cleansed the remaining corruption nodes with a final burst of pure, holy light, basic. He exited the crypt victorious. His favor with both systems was now substantial, 600 points each. He was effectively neutral in the eyes of the cosmic bureaucracy, a master of both sides who somehow managed to offend neither enough to trigger a hostile response. He had also leveled up both classes to level 5. You have leveled up. Acolyte is now level 5. You have gained +1 faith, +1 order. New skill point acquired. New class skill option. Holy Smite, basic, active. Calls down a concentrated bolt of holy energy, dealing significant damage to a single unholy target. Mana cost, 40, divine. New class skill option, Aura of Purity, passive. Passive. Minor passive resistance to abyssal corruption and fear effects. You have leveled up. Initiate is now level 5. You have gained +1 ambition, +1 chaos. New skill point acquired. New class skill option, Abyssal Embrace, basic. Active. Envelopes the user in shadows, granting minor invisibility and a temporary boost to abyssal spell power. Mana cost, 40, abyssal. New class skill. Option, Veil of Lies, passive. Passive. Minor passive resistance to divine detection and truth-telling effects. The new passive skills, Aura of Purity and Veil of Lies, were exactly what he needed to survive in this world. They would bolster his ability to navigate both extreme factions. He allocated his 2 new skill points to these. He also noticed something else. At level 5, he had unlocked a special shared option, dual class progression unlocked. Specialization option, Heretic of the Balance, unique class. Description: combine your Acolyte and Initiate paths into a single, unified class, gaining access to unique fusion skills and enhanced dual mana control. Warning: this path is anathema to both divine and abyssal powers. Your existence will be considered an affront to both systems. Risk of immediate hostility from both factions. This was it. The ultimate choice. A unified class, true mastery, but at the cost of drawing the absolute wrath of 2 gods. It was a terrifying prospect. He wasn't ready for that, not yet. He still needed to gather more power, more knowledge, more contingency plans. For now, he would continue his tightrope walk. He returned to the Adventurers Guild, presenting the Holy Chalice. The Archon of Light, a revered paladin, grandmaster, and Eredor's military commander, personally thanked him. You have done a great service. Young Acolyte, the Archon declared, his voice resonating with divine power. The light shines brighter because of your faith. We have a special assignment for a chosen few, a diplomatic mission to the neutral but often corrupted elven city of Eldoria. There you will spread the light and counter the insidious influence of the abyss. New divine quest, Diplomat of Light. Description: Journey to Eldoria. Secure an alliance for Ethel, counter abyssal influence. Reward: 1,000 divine favor, Ring of Purity. Epic item: Archon's personal blessing, a diplomatic mission. To a neutral city. This was exactly what he needed. Eldoria, being neutral, would also have abyssal elements, another chance to balance the scales, another chance to gain power from both sides. This would be his grand stage for the tightrope walk. Eldoria, the famed city of the elves, was a breathtaking spectacle. Built amidst ancient, towering trees, its structures seemed to grow organically from the forest itself, a harmony of wood and light. The elves themselves were graceful beings, some adorned with subtle golden markings, others with faint violet tattoos, reflecting the city's neutral stance in the cosmic war. Here, divine and abyssal representatives coexisted, albeit with thinly veiled distrust. It was a true melting pot and a perfect hunting ground for Cain. Upon arrival, Cain, now adept at projecting different personas, presented himself as a pious acolyte from Eridor, using his aura of purity passive to naturally deflect any suspicions about his hidden abyssal nature. He delivered the Archon's diplomatic overtures to the Elven Council, a group of ancient wise elves who listened with serene, non-committal expressions. Immediately, his divine quest updated, Divine Quest, Diplomat of Light, 0 to 3 objectives. Objectives: convince the Elven Council of Ethel's benevolence, expose a significant abyssal plot within Eldoria, recover the Heartwood Seed, sacred elven artifact. This was a major quest, multifaceted and politically charged. Cain knew he needed to balance it carefully. He needed to find an abyssal plot, but also find an abyssal quest to counter his divine gains. He subtly activated Whispers of Madness, passive, letting its presence permeate his awareness. He could feel faint, distant abyssal energies, a subtle undercurrent in the vibrant elven city. He found his counterquest at Eldoria's less reputable, shadowy market district, a place where contraband and forbidden knowledge were traded. A cloaked figure reeking of abyssal mana approached him. "You have the scent of potential, stranger," the figure hissed. "We have need of your unique talents." The figure, a shadow broker, adept, offered a quest, Abyssal Quest, The Shadow's Gambit, 0-3 objectives. Objectives: sabotage a divine ritual of purification in the Sunstone Grove, obtain sensitive divine intelligence from the Ethel Embassy, steal the Heartwood Seed, sacred elven artifact for the Abyss. Reward, Boas 1000. Abyssal Favor, Cloak of Obscurity, epic item. Demon Lord's Minor Favor, the Heartwood Seed. Both quests required it. This was the exact kind of high-stakes, conflicting objective that Cain thrived on. He would steal the seed, then return it, or perhaps create a copy, or find a way to gain favor from both sides for its retrieval. His mind was already working on a plan. He started by investigating the divine ritual of purification, mentioned in the Abyssal Quest. It was taking place in the Sunstone Grove, a sacred elven glade. He found a group of divine clerics, adept, preparing a ritual to cleanse a localized patch of abyssal blight, a clear abyssal objective to sabotage. Cain approached the clerics, presenting himself as a helpful acolyte. "Brothers and sisters, I sense the darkness here. May I offer my aid?" The clerics, grateful for an extra hand, welcomed him. While assisting them in setting up the ritual, Cain used his Shadow Step, Minor, to subtly plant a small, concealed abyssal mana siphon near the ritual's focal point. He then used his Veil of Lies, Passive, to shroud his actions. The siphon would, at a critical moment, draw off just enough of the ritual's purifying energy to make it fail, thus fulfilling the Abyssal Quest objective, but without being directly detected. As the ritual began, a beam of pure holy light descended onto the blight, but as the energy flared, the hidden siphon subtly activated. A small portion of the divine energy was diverted, feeding Cain's abyssal mana pool and causing the ritual to sputter briefly, and ultimately fail to fully cleanse the blight. Abyssal Quest objective: sabotage divine ritual of purification. Complete. You have gained par 300 Abyssal Favor, 500 experience points Abyssal. The clerics were distraught, blaming the lingering strength of the blight. Cain, outwardly sympathetic, inwardly celebrated. He was navigating the treacherous waters of Eldoria beautifully. He was a master diplomat for the light and a silent saboteur for the abyss all at once. His true nature remained hidden, a heretic dancing between the raindrops of divine wrath and abyssal fury. Cain's dual quest in Eldoria was proving to be his most intricate performance yet. Having sabotaged the divine ritual while posing as a loyal acolyte, he now needed to delve deeper into both factions. The Heartwood Seed was the ultimate prize, but he needed to lay the groundwork first. His next abyssal objective was to obtain sensitive divine intelligence from the Ethel Embassy. He approached the embassy in Eldoria, a pristine structure radiating divine energy. Using his aura of purity, passive, as a deceptive mask, he gained access, claiming to report on the failed cleansing ritual and offering his assistance. Once inside, he used Detect Evil, passive, to find the embassy's most secure room. It was likely guarding something abyssal in nature, or at least highly secret. While the embassy guards were distracted, Cain employed a complex fusion of his abilities. He cast Abyssal Embrace Basic to turn himself mostly invisible, melting into the shadows, then used Shadow Step Minor to bypass the guards. Once inside the secure room, he saw a glowing scroll locked in a holy display case. He knew the scroll was likely protected by a divine ward, but he also knew his unique abilities. He pressed his hand against the case, activating Siphon Life Minor on the holy ward itself, a truly brazen act. The ward resisted, but the abyssal energy, combined with his Veil of Lies passive, allowed him to subtly drain its mana without fully breaking it. As the ward briefly flickered, he quickly copied the contents of the scroll onto a blank piece of parchment he carried. The scroll detailed the precise location and security measures for several other abyssal plots in Eldoria, including a hidden cult cell in the Undercity. This was the intelligence. Abyssal Quest Objective: Obtain sensitive divine intelligence complete. You have gained 300 Abyssal Favor, 500 experience points, Abyssal. With the intelligence in hand, he now had a powerful tool for his divine quest. Expose a significant abyssal plot within Eldoria. He could use this stolen information to expose the Undercity cult cell. Gaining immense divine favor, he returned to the Elven Council, presenting himself as a diligent acolyte who had discovered a horrifying abyssal conspiracy. Esteemed Council, Cain declared, his voice earnest, I regret to report that the Abyss has infiltrated your beautiful city. I have uncovered evidence of a hidden cult operating in the Undercity, plotting to corrupt the very Heartwood Seed itself. He presented his copied intelligence, the precise locations and methods. The Elven Council, usually stoic, showed genuine alarm. They immediately dispatched a squad of Elven Guardians and Divine Mages to the Undercity, led by a stern Elven Paladin, Adept. Cain, feigning exhaustion from his investigations, volunteered to guide them. The raid on the Undercity cult was swift and decisive. Cain, fighting alongside the elves, carefully used his divine spells to appear as a champion of light, while subtly using Abyssal Mark Basic on key cultists to assist the elves in dispatching them faster. He even used Mend Minor on injured Elven Guardians, solidifying his image as a virtuous acolyte. Divine Quest, Objective: Expose a significant abyssal plot, complete. You have gained 300 divine favor, 500 experience points, divine. His favor with both systems was now sky high, nearing 900 points each. He was poised to complete both quests by obtaining the Heartwood Seed. This was the moment of ultimate deception. The Elven Council, deeply grateful for Cain's service, informed him that the Heartwood Seed was kept in the most sacred chamber of Eldoria, deep within the great tree, guarded by powerful nature spirits. It was a place only accessible to those with the utmost trust. Both the divine and abyssal quests now hinged on this final objective: steal the Heartwood Seed for the abyss, or recover it for the divine. He couldn't do both simultaneously in the traditional sense. He needed a truly heretical solution, a masterstroke of manipulation. He stood before the great tree, its massive trunk pulsating with ancient magic. He needed to be both the righteous retriever and the cunning thief. He needed to be the heretic of the two systems one last time. Cain stood before the entrance to the great tree, the culmination of his Eldorian gambit. The Heartwood Seed lay within, guarded by potent nature spirits and ancient elven magic. He had to obtain it for both his divine and abyssal quests. Directly. This was impossible. Unless he remembered his profound understanding of both systems, his unique insight into their binary nature. He knew they perceived reality through their own lenses of order and chaos, light and shadow. What if he didn't just fulfill both quests, but forced the systems to acknowledge a single paradoxical act as fulfilling contradictory objectives? He entered the great tree, his dual passive skills, Aura of Purity, passive, and Veil of Lies, passive, humming in overdrive, his very presence a discordant symphony of cosmic contradictions. The interior was breathtaking, bathed in soft, ethereal light, alive with the rustle of ancient leaves and the murmur of unseen spirits. The heartwood seed itself pulsed with vibrant life force, nestled in a crystalline cradle at the base of the tree's core. As he approached, nature spirits, wood sprites, level 10, and stone golems, level 12, stirred to life, their ancient eyes filled with protective fury. Cain did not fight them. Instead, he unleashed a never-before-attempted combination of his most advanced skills. He activated Empowering Light Minor on the wood sprites, making them briefly glow with amplified natural energy, a seemingly benevolent act. Then, as their life force pulsed, he simultaneously used Soul Harvest Minor on them, subtly siphoning a small, non-lethal portion of that amplified life essence into his abyssal mana pool. He was literally harvesting the amplified life of the forest, feeding the abyss with light's blessing. Heretical technique. Discovered, harmony of consumption. Description: a fused technique combining empowering light with soul harvest. Boosts a living target's life force for a brief moment, then siphons a portion of that amplified essence. Appears benevolent to divine perception while secretly feeding abyssal power. Warning: extremely heretical. Risk of exposure. The sprites, briefly glowing, felt invigorated by the divine light, but also experienced a subtle drain they couldn't comprehend. They became confused, their attacks faltering. This allowed Cain to bypass them, reaching the heartwood seed. He carefully approached the seed. He needed to steal it, but also to recover it. He had to perform an act that both systems would register as fulfilling their individual, conflicting quests. He channeled both his divine and abyssal mana into his hands, the golden and violet energies coiling around each other, forming a pulsating, shimmering sphere. This wasn't a spell. It was an act of pure, blasphemous intent. He wasn't just taking the seed. He was claiming it with both of his conflicting natures. He reached out and touched the heartwood seed. The moment his fingers made contact, the great tree shuddered. A wave of raw energy erupted, both holy and unholy, pure and corrupted. It was as if the cosmos itself had flinched at the audacity of his act. Divine quest objective: recover the heartwood seed, complete. You have gained 400 divine favor, 1,000 experience points, divine. Abyssal quest objective: steal the heartwood seed, complete. You have gained 400 abyssal favor, 1,000 experience points, abyssal. Warning: your unprecedented act has caused a critical system anomaly. Warning: your dual favor has reached a critical threshold. Divine infamy plus 1,000. Abyssal infamy by 1,000. Your neutral favor status has been broken. You are now hunted by the divine. You are now hunted by the abyss. Cain felt a wave of crushing celestial and infernal condemnation wash over him. His delicate balance, his perfect neutrality had shattered. Both systems had been forced to acknowledge his blatant manipulation, and now they registered him as the ultimate affront, the heretic of the balance. He had achieved total victory, but at the cost of becoming public enemy number 1 to 2 warring gods. He clutched the heartwood seed, now pulsing with a strangely unified golden-violet light, and activated Shadow Step Minor, fleeing the enraged nature spirits and the wrath of 2 awakened cosmic powers. He delivered the seed, its singular nature somehow satisfying both quest conditions simultaneously, to the Elven Council, explaining his discovery of the seed and its recovery from a corrupted force. The elves, seeing the powerful artifact returned and impressed by his bravery, declared an alliance with Ethel. Divine quest, Diplomat of Light, complete. You have gained Pause 1,000 divine favor, Ring of Purity, epic item, Archon's personal blessing.
He then secretly returned to the Shadow Broker, who, upon seeing the seed, grinned with a terrifying, toothy smile.
Excellent work, Agent. The seed's power. It is immense. The Abyss will remember this. Abyssal Quest. The Shadow's Gambit. Complete. You have gained 1,000 Abyssal Favor. Cloak of Obscurity. Epic item. Demon Lord's Major Favor. His favor with both sides was now astronomical, but so was his infamy. He was no longer neutral. He was recognized, feared, and hunted by both. The message flashed in his dual interfaces: specialization option, heretic of the balance, unique class, forced selection. Your dual nature can no longer be contained. Your path is set. Congratulations! You have obtained the unique class, Heretic of the Balance. A new, fused character sheet appeared, glowing with both gold and violet. His, Acolyte, and Initiate classes dissolved, replaced by a single, terrifying designation. He felt a surge of incredible unified power, but also a profound sense of isolation. He was the heretic of the two systems, a master of paradox, a walking contradiction. He had won the game by breaking its fundamental rules. Now he faced the ultimate challenge, surviving as the single most wanted entity in a universe governed by two furious, omnipotent powers. His journey was truly just beginning.